The final thing that we want to take a look at is what we call the interference graphic that comes in the report. So once they complete the assessment and it comes in, you'll be able to download their report, print it off, or you can just leave it in the app. It'll always be there for you. But there will be three primary graphics that are shown in the report. We've already talked about the first two, the personality graphic and then the competency graphic. And those are very important graphics, but this one here is a combination of the previous two. So while we can see the strengths and weaknesses of their personality, their primary, secondary, whatever the case might be, and also the strengths and weaknesses of their competencies, this table right here gives us an identifiable pattern of behavior that helps you, the trainer or the HR manager, whoever you are, to know specifically how to help your candidate or your employee to advance as a new employee. So how does this work? Well, the first thing we see at the top is transformational leadership and the four competencies that define it. And below we see servant leadership and the three competencies that define it. Now, one thing I want to point out is as you're watching this training, some of these terminologies will be changed, and we'll certainly give you an update of when that happens. And I can give you a heads up on what's going to change. Under transformational leadership, the competency creative is going to be changed to collaborative. This is a bit of a misnomer because we're not measuring your candidate's sense of creativity. We're measuring their openness to other people's creative ideas. It causes a little bit of confusion to use the word creative because people think that we're measuring their creativity when in fact we're measuring their ability to be collaborative. So that word will change in the future. And the term spiritual leadership is going to be changed to self-awareness. The reason why we called it spiritual is we are measuring four characteristics, and that is emotional intelligence, integrity, accountability, and responsibility. Ultimately, these are characteristics where a person needs to be highly self-aware. We called it spiritual because it really required an individual to look within themselves and know where they are on the spectrum of any one of those four characteristics. So that being said, this is another one that tends to cause some question or some confusion. So ultimately, this is about self-awareness. So those two terms will be changed moving forward. So just keep that in mind. But I would just want to explain how this graphic is working. Under these aggregates, under these competencies, so when we look at visionary, empowering, collaborative, and decisive, you can see underneath there are numbers. Let's look at decisive under transformational leadership. You can see numbers 4, 11, 18, 25, 32, 39, and 46. Now, the assessment is a 50-question survey. They're not even questions. They're scenarios. They're relationship situations or leadership situations whereby your candidate will be asked to pick one of three responses. And those three responses are measuring any one of those personality behaviors, and in this particular case, a decisive response. So if they gave the decisive response, then the software gives a check mark. So you can look at this and say, wow, my candidate is outstanding with making snap decisions. Keep that in mind that when we're measuring decisiveness, we're not measuring their ability to make a decision in 6 months. We're measuring their ability to make a decision right now. Those are very important decisions that can make or break a person, but they are decisions that happen in a leadership context from time to time. So they did really well on that one, but if we can move down below that under servant leadership, the competency empathy, they scored a 5 out of 7. And 3 times out of 7, they answered with the transactional compromise. So this is the introverted, phlegmatic, transactional behavior. It doesn't mean that they're not empathetic. It just means that there are many occasions in this person's life, in this particular case, 3 times out of 7, where they show empathy by engaging with that person through transactional compromise. Maybe helping them through a tough spot, which sounds like a good thing, but if that is primarily their way of leading, that sends a very bad message later on down the road, whereby the person who struggles says, well, I don't have to worry about it because my boss will get in here and help me out and do it for me. These are things that you want to pay attention to moving forward. You want somebody that really understands what it means to be truly empathetic. But this graphic gives you an identifiable pattern of behavior. So when you do hire that person, again, this person didn't do too bad. They have a score of 4.7 in transformational, a score of 5.0 in servant, with a total score of 4.8. So they're a pretty decent candidate. If you were to hire this person, you could look at this table and you can say, okay, we know how to help this person moving forward when it comes to visionary, which we also call critical thinking and problem solving, or their collaboration or their empathy. So that's how this graphic works. It really gives you a clear picture of what specifically this candidate, if you choose to hire them, are going to need moving forward. Now back to this table. So if you're wondering where these numbers are coming from, well, we've just seen that they're coming from this particular table. So we see the transformational score of 4.7, servant leadership of 5.0, overall 4.0. So the software is prioritizing these for you. So you don't have to go thumbing through all of the reports. You can just look at this graphic. And I would still suggest that for the people that you choose to interview, that you still pull their report and look at the detailed information that comes out of their report. So that's where these numbers are coming from. Their social receptivity, their introversion, extroversion, scores on transformational servant leadership, and overall. And ultimately, what it does is it gives you a clear picture of if this is the person you're going to hire, you know who you're getting. You're getting a strong, solid relational leader who understands how to make other people better versions of themselves, otherwise known as the transformational leadership. And you also can look at their spiritual leadership or their self-awareness and say, okay, that might be a little bit low. We want to get that up. And they're empowering. This one struggles with a true sense of empowering. So moving forward, we're going to help them understand how we want them to empower better. So overall, this is a wonderful software that you have purchased, and you can always refer back to these trainings to help you understand. But at the same time, you can use us. We are your resource to help you navigate some of these things. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at info@execuspect.com, or you can call our offices. We have a Michigan number and we have an Ohio number that is listed here as well. So be sure to use us in these regards. So thank you for purchasing this software. Thank you for partnering with us.